Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we are going to see point by point the reason behind the cloud adoption. The first reason behind the cloud adoption is cost. There are a lot of cost associated to maintaining the infrastructure for the organization. The IT infrastructure form the backbone of majority of the industries today. Right from banking, financial services to insurance to manufacturing, IT infrastructure plays an extremely critical and important role. There is a cost associated to it. The first cost is they need to maintain a real estate, which I have mentioned in the point number 5. They need to have a place where they can have their data centers. Those data centers need to be managed by a well-trained staff, and the organization has to spend on maintaining those data centers, and those personnel who have enough knowledge or are very well trained to manage that entire infra. There is a cost associated to maintaining, right from the energy that we supply to those data centers, to the energy that goes into cooling them off, to the lightning, and all those things plays a very important role in cost. Then there are a lot of licensing that the company has to maintain. Suppose they let's say, just to give an example, we as a big data team have a huge cluster, and that associate itself with the cost of Hadoop licensing, which we take from let's say some of our licensings are from Cloudera, some of them are from Hortonworks. So all those things are there. Then there are associated, for example, if we use some visualizing tool, for example, let's say if you use SAS or Tableau or QuickView, then those things also has the licensing cost. Their versions needs to be maintained, their version needs to be upgraded on our own entire infrastructure. So all those things are there, because those things such as Hadoop, Spark, or anything related to Tableau, QuickView, or even some of the .NET related stuff like the Windows servers and all those things needs to be maintained and managed entirely by the organization itself, and there is a cost associated to it. Whereas the cloud adoption, we get the benefit because most of the cloud today has a pay you use model, that pay only for what you have used. We just go there, plug in. Let's say, for example, we wanted to run one web service. So we just request a server, we just host that web service, and we, let's say, wanted to host it for a month or so. So we just go, then buy the time on server for a month, we host that service, and then we turn it off. So we don't need to have a person who looks after where that server is going to be placed, where the person need, since there is no need of a person, we don't need to have, since that server itself is not in our on-premise, there is no need for us to care about who is going to maintain that server. So this entirely reduces the burden on the organization to maintain and manage that infra, and this definitely give the organization more time to focus on its core business, which might be a banking, which might be financial services, which might be manufacturing or something else, than maintaining the IT infra. So this is the major reason why everybody wish to adopt to this model. It's a pay you use model. So in conclusion, we can say the cost of acquiring infra maintaining is reduced, and to maintain the army of personnel to run the show of the infra team is also reduced to fraction or negligible. So this is one reason why there is a widespread adoption of cloud. Cost. Second is time and scalability. I'll give for each and every point I'll give some examples. So point number 1 is difficult or takes time to scale the infrastructure when needed. For example, I'll tell you one of my own experience. Few days back we needed a service which we needed to install on a specific size of server, which was not available within the organization. That our manager needed to take an approval which was more than 50K. So our manager doesn't have the right to take that much of the approval. So he went on creating the request and then went on to getting it approved, getting it approved until the time the year end came and the budget got frozen and the request went into pending state. And this entire exercise continued for around 1 or 2 months. So ideally the thing which we would have tried and tested immediately went into loops and ending up with no result. So this is one of the issue that is there for the on-premise thing. So the time associated is fixed and it might be huge. Second is we end up under capacity or being over provisioned. We have one of the account services or the transaction services which are needed to be scaled up because they are used like a lot during the Thanksgiving holidays and some of the American holidays which comes around like Black Friday and all. So there are a lot of transactions that happen. There is a huge load on the server. So we always keep the extra capacity ready, which is no longer used when that load slows down. Right after the Black Friday or even after the Cyber Monday, the amount of requests that comes in drops more than 30 to 40% and we are still with the same capacity. But if we would not have provisioned those, we would have ended up in creating the nuisance for our customer. So anyways we would either be under provision or over provision. So this is one of the reason why or rather we can say difficulty with the on-premise. Third is time for approval or experimentation is more. In the first example itself I have told you that we needed to evaluate one software on one of the specific machine or specific configuration machine which was not available. So same thing happened, same point is repeated in the third one, time for approval or experimentation. Microsoft Power BI is one of the leading tool which is now getting used. So we didn't had a specific version of that tool available with us. So we didn't had any other place to go. So we asked the infra team in how much time that particular thing could be made available. So he said that it would take at least 7 to 14 days for the software to get approved for the commercial licensing and budget approval and all those things. So these are the things that come in the way. Fourth point is time to implement a new feature is more on-premise. Let's say if you would have successfully able to quickly test the Microsoft Power BI, we would have been able to adopt more quickly. So we can say that time to increase the capacity is reduced, time of adoption of new technology is less, and thus the overall time to market for us is also reduced. These are the challenges that we faced on premise. So first reason we saw was cost, second reason is time and scalability. And moving to third reason, this is most important reason, which is data protection and data privacy. Nowadays there is a huge burst on the organization need to maintain their data privacy, and it is extremely crucial. The wave started from Europe where GDPR was adopted and then it traveled back the entire world where each and every person got aware that his personal data need to be maintained well and securely by the organization which owns it or which manages it. So data protection and data privacy plays very important role. So there came a lot of things in that, like we need to have certain kind of encryption, we need to have certain type of algorithm to maintain the data privacy and data security. So all these things are non-core business of our organization. So many of our organization don't want to get into it. If some third party is able to provide the tool, or if some third party is able to provide some infra which is secure and we can directly plug in and take the help of that to adopt that, then that would be great for them, because there is a cost associated with maintaining those security algorithms and those certificates on the servers and all those things. So that is one of the reason why people are moving on to cloud, where all these things are maintained or handled by the entire cloud infra team itself. That being that we just talked about is data privacy, but what about data protection? So backup and recovery, this is one of the important things. So I'll give you one of the example which I have seen. There was this application where my financial services organization used to maintain the paper bond. Then they adopted and then they moved on from paper bond to some application where they used to maintain the bond in the form of soft copies. But then the Katrina disaster that came approximately I guess 2012 or something in US, which flooded the New York City, and one of the server places that organization had got also flooded. Luckily, they had the backup center which was there onto the core part of or away from the shore, and that facility was having a backup and recovery of the entire data center of this, which was flooded in the New York, and they were able to save the data. But imagine the situation where we don't have such thing available and we are not able to protect the customer data, because IT and data being a backbone of the entire story, this needs to be protected and maintained. So data protection and data privacy plays extremely important role in this. So for the first reason was cost, second reason was time and scalability. First reason was cost, second reason was time and scalability, and third is data protection and data privacy plays very important role. Now in each and every case, in cost we have seen that cloud is a pay-per-use model, so that is one of the benefit. Time and scalability, the time to provision an infra or to get any particular service is rather, you can say, fraction compared to what we could have got in our own organization. And third is data protection and data privacy. The cloud teams have their own security teams being deployed, and they are maintaining their infra and everything. So the organizations which are like banking, financial services or manufacturing or any other thing can focus on their core business instead of getting into all these things. So these are some of the reasons why we wanted to adopt the cloud. So industry adoption wise, this is just short. In short, I'll tell you how the industry generally we have seen adopts. So retail and analytics firm are the first one to adopt technologies. So example is Nielsen. Manufacturing is the second one, and in the last, because these are like organizations which are skeptical about it, and they have their own reasons. Definitely, banking and financial services and insurance. So these are the industry which are now in next year 2020 are going to see a widespread adoption of cloud technologies. So majorly IT industry in India, or rather we can say over the world, deal with banking and financial services all over the world. This year and next year will be the time when the banking and financial industry will be seen widely adopting cloud practices. This indicated a big wave of cloud and cloud technology related work coming in our plate. So be ready with your surfboards. The wave is coming and we are going to fly in it. Thanks for watching this video. In some of the next videos, what we will see is a use case by use case approach of how we are going to do some of the POCs or experimentations on the cloud, because there is no written handbook that okay, X is going to be X, Y is going to be Y in cloud. The solution architect who sits down has to take a comprehensive approach when he moves the on-premise application onto cloud. In some of the upcoming series, we'll get onto that hat. Thanks guys for watching this.